Hi, guys, welcome back to Discovering Myth Talk Show, a platform where you can listen to stories from different people from different backgrounds. And today, I am very blessed to have one of my friends, a newly met friends from Instagram. And the first thing that I scrolled through his Instagram. It was so amazing. And let us welcome Daniel. Hi, Daniel.
Hey Vincent, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I mean that hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying yes and to to go live conversation with me, yeah, I'm
Hey,
really
it's my
blessed to
pleasure,
have
man.
you, man.
My pleasure,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, so maybe you can do a little bit of introductions about yourself.
hmm my name is Daniel. I'm currently residing in KL. I'm a wheelchair racing athlete and also a motivational speaker. So yeah, I I am born with a specific condition called osteogenesis imperfecta, which is a very complicated name for brittle bones, or like some people call it glass bones. So
Oh,
yeah,
glass bone. Yeah,
yeah.
before we get into all these things, right? How this MCO, how this MCO have been for you? I mean that we are entering
Well,
the third phase.
mhm, mhm. well,
Yeah, so how's everything?
I think I'm doing much better than a lot of people, so I'm very grateful for that. I think it might be tougher for a lot more, so there's nothing to complain here on my side. So I just hope that everything will be better soon, so that everyone can start getting back to their normal lives slowly and adapt, you know, where it's safe and healthy for everyone. How's the MCO treating you?
Well, MCO treating me well. I mean that to be honest, a bit struggle because they are. I mean that because I'm a freelancer, so
Oh yeah,
definitely there are tons of jobs that have been cancelled or postponed. So, but I'm still able to find some, freelancing job online. Fortunately, and of course,
yeah.
like spending more times to do the things that I love, like this live show. So yeah, so I mean that it's for me. I think that there's a good and bad. For the good side is that that I get to spend more time to do the things that I loved before.
hmm
Yeah, yeah. So one thing. So, uh, how did I mean that you mentioned that when you were young, right, and you got this glass bone is it a disease or a symptom?
Yeah, it is a genetic. Yeah, it is a disease. Yeah, it's a genetic condition. Yeah,
Yeah, so you mentioned that when you were a baby, you already been diagnosed with this kind of genetic disease, right? So
yeah.
so when you grow up, uh what do you feel about this kind of conditions that happens to you? Like, because I do believe that when you are having a glass bone genetic disease, sorry, I can't remember the name because it's a bit complicated.
We call it for short. We call it OI, osteogenesis
OI.
imperfecta.
OI.
So yeah. So and if I were to explain it a little bit more, osteo means bones, right? Osteo is bones, Genesis is formation, imperfecta obviously is imperfect. So basically, it translates to imperfect bone formation.
I see, I see. So, I mean that when you were young, definitely you don't understand all these kind of all these kind of scientific terms,
Yeah.
the things that. But as you growing up, what do you thought? I mean, what is your feelings when you knowing that you have this grasp on and you are limited to a lot of things?
Well, I, of course, like you said, when I was younger, I don't really know what it meant, and I think it took me some time before I actually realized, I'm a bit different. But my father had the same condition, my grandfather had the same condition, so it runs in the family. And so for me, it was something that I grew up with. I think I basically learned about it from my own condition. So when I break bones, and also when my father explained it a little bit more.
I mean, yeah, I mean, do you feel do you feel something why it happens to me? I mean that
Oh yeah.
I mean that when you were young, right? I mean that there's
Mhm.
a lot of things that we want to do. We want to play football, we want to go outfield, we want to go jump, but because of this
Yeah.
condition,
Yeah.
what I mean that how? I mean that how?
I guess I've always been an active kid, so even up to a certain point, like I said, it took me some time before I could realize it. And so I kept breaking bones for some reason. And then my father had to tell me over and over again that my bones are a bit different than everyone else. And so, and even then, I didn't let it stop me. I think I was just naturally very active. I couldn't sit still. And so, like, fun fact, basically I broke my bones so many times that I stopped walking at the age of maybe about 3. So I actually don't really have a lot. Actually, I don't really remember myself walking as a kid. So
Oh,
yeah,
you mean that you mean that at the
I
age
don't
of
have a
3 you're
memory of
oh
me
my
walking
god.
as a kid. Yeah, because I was so young when I stopped walking that I don't actually remember myself walking as a child. I only could see pictures and then realize, okay, maybe I stopped walking around the age of 3 based on what my parents say and the pictures I could see. So, but even then, when I couldn't walk, I could still kneel. So I can kneel on my knees, or I could still climb. So I'll still do all those things, and I'll fall and I'll break my bones. So I would say, how I felt as a kid, I basically lived like a normal kid in a sense. In my mind, I kept thinking, I like to do something, and I'll just do it. The only difference is that every time I did something a bit more risky or even normal, based on what other kids would do, I would break a
Mm-hmm.
bone, and I always would go to the hospital.
Oh wow. So which means from what you said just now, uh starting from the age of 3, you're the you cannot walk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your age when you are you have to use a wheelchair?
I because I grew up poor, so my family could not afford a wheelchair. So my mom actually carried me everywhere I went up until the age of 10. So it's about standard 3 before I finally got my first wheelchair.
Then how do you go to school? I'm kind of curious, like because you mentioned that your mother carry you around until the age of 10. So
Yeah.
how do you go to school?
So literally, my mom would carry me into class, and then she'll leave me there, and then she'll come during recess, bring me to the toilet, and then back again to my class, and then she'll go back home, and then she'll pick me up at the end of the school day.
Oh wow. You mean that every single day?
Yeah, up until the age of 10. So standard 3, that's when I got my family managed to finally have enough money to buy me my first wheelchair. And so I had my first wheelchair, and that was sort of like my first taste of freedom on my own at 10.
Wow, man. Man, I really salute your mom, and that is like real love. I mean that every single
Yeah,
day.
yeah. It's not easy,
Wow.
definitely.
Wow, man. I do believe that you went to that to school, right? So after at the age of 10, when you have this, I think that at the age of 10, right, that's the time where we start to have like a measured thinking, like we start to have friends, and sometimes we even care about what friends look us at. So at the age
Mm-hmm.
of 10, after you have your own wheelchair and you have to use wheelchair to school and everywhere, I mean,
Yep.
do you feel any discrimination from your friends? Like your friend said, we are working. Why you need to use a wheelchair?
Well,
Something like this.
kids can sometimes be a bit mean because they naturally say what they think. So I could still remember, I think it standard 2 or 3 in the early days, right before I got my wheelchair. I We moved a lot when I was a kid. So we moved from one town to another depending on where my father had to work and stay. So I would go to a new school, and I could still remember one of the days where I went to a new school, my first day in school, first term of the year. And so my mom would carry me into class and put me on my chair. I could still remember all the kids watching me. A number of them were laughing because you can imagine you're almost 10 years old and your mom have to carry you like a baby into class. So it was a bit tough. And when you're younger, kids in school, generally they'll bully you because you're a bit different. They call me names, things like budak cacat, things like that. So
Oh
yeah,
my god! Like I mean that even though in others people's eyes, right? Like kids during primary, they are so cute, so innocent, but really down, man, they are so mean. I mean that it's
yeah,
so important to call you Buddha Chacha. I mean
yeah.
it's totally.
It
Then
wasn't
I think that
easy.
okay, yeah. Oh man.
Hmm.
So 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 I mean that this is primary school. I think that is
Yeah.
it getting worse when you enter into secondary school?
Um, well, I think I started adapting a little bit better. So up until standard 5, I would still have some people bully me, and then I changed school again because my family moved to a different town. I moved a lot when I was young. I think I went through at least 2 to 3 primary schools. Yeah, in and then 2 to 3 other secondary schools. But yeah, I think when I was in secondary school, I was still a bit shy, but I think the bullying is not as severe. But still, because I don't get to spend time with my friends, I would go to school and then go back home, go to school, go back home. Whereas my other classmates would, meet after school and have sports and play. So I would never be able to. I was never really able to fit into the group in a sense. So I would say in secondary school it wasn't so much a bullying, more so like I just couldn't fit in because naturally I don't spend time with them.
I mean that throughout this, I think that throughout this, like primary and secondary school, do you like complain like why this happens to me, like or do you have any like uh, I mean depressions or anything that hit you like why all this happens to me? You know, like I can't fit with my friends, people are bullying me. So
Mhm.
do you have this kind of thoughts when you were young?
Maybe when I was very young, I would sometimes think, why me? Um, but I think maybe because I spent a lot of time in the hospital, and I had to figure out a way to cope with everything. So I'll always look around, and I remember because I go to the hospital a lot on a for context, on a very good year where I behave myself, I don't do anything crazy or stupid. I'll break my bones twice at least a year. So I break my legs twice mostly in a year if I behave very well. If not, then it'll be worse. But and so because of that, I go to the appointments all the time. So I go to appointments and doctor's appointments, and I would reach the hospital for my appointment at 6, and then you put in your card, and then you
Yeah.
only see the doctor by like 10 or
Eh,
11.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes noon. And so I spent a lot of time waiting, and I think for me to cope as a child, I started, yeah, of course, I thought about why me and why uh, instead of other people, I have this condition. But I think for me to cope as a child, I started looking around whenever I was waiting for my doctor's turn, and I started looking at other people having worse conditions. So some people don't have legs, some because I was in the orthopedic, which is the bone section, and
Mm-hmm.
so people who gone through accidents and people who lose their legs and people who are in far worse conditions. And I think naturally as a kid I started learning to say, I thank God I'm not that person. I think that person is worse off. And from there, it became a habit of sort of, I think you can say, gratefulness, even without me realizing. As a child, I was just thinking of that as a way to cope. But as an adult, you call that gratefulness, right? Because there are so
Yeah.
many people who are worse off than us. And so for me, I started doing that naturally.
Wow. 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 I mean that when we were, I think that this is something special about human. I think. Like sometimes we do when we are under conditions, right, or we are stressed. Definitely, there are ways that we can look at, like, to show to cope with the problem that we have. I mean that this is truly amazing. And because so so what was the pivotal point where you really into this kind of a wheelchair racing? So what happens to what happens that really leads you to this path?
Oh, wow. I think the pivotal point only comes much later in life. So it wasn't that I was thinking about doing sports when I was very young, nor did it seem very possible at all for me to do
Mm-hmm.
sports. I am very grateful that I have type 1 osteogenesis imperfecta, which is the mildest form. So I have friends who have type 3 and above, which would mean maybe instead of breaking a few times a year, they break once every month or once every few
What?
months. Yeah. So I would say I am in a better condition than most. But even then, the idea of having just imagine glass, glass bones and sports, it does not
Yeah.
fit. So I never thought about doing sports like realistically as a child. Of course, as a kid, I fantasized about wanting to do sports. So I wanted to try, but every time I don't get the opportunity. So I never really got into
Sports.
sports per se. And I only started doing it after I graduated from college. So that was in 2012, 8 years ago, where I finally transitioned from something that is slightly better than a hospital chair, so like a day chair, to another slightly better sports chair. So that was when I first got my sports chair after graduating from college, and I thought to myself, I could join um, marathons. And at that point in time, the whole idea of wheelchair marathons in Malaysia is not popular, so there's
Yeah.
no OKU category. Nowadays, you join the run, there will be an OKU category. During that time, it was still very new. And so I just signed up for a 10 km men's category in Standard Chartered 2012. And I
Oh,
just joined it. Yeah, like that.
Standard Charter. I mean that is like a huge event for Malaysia, man. I,
Yeah.
I, I I mean that I think that when you are when you do the marathon using a wheelchair, right, I think that everybody will be looking at you.
I think, yeah. And at first, it sounds very ridiculous because when I think about it, I did my first 10 km with a friend called Alex Aoyong. So that friend said he would join my first 10 km together. And so he was a very seasoned marathoner and ultra marathoner, did a 100 km himself. And so he said he would join me for my first 10 km. And by the end of the first 10 km, I didn't really train much, so I just went for it. I did it in 1 hour, 4 minutes for 10 km.
Oh,
And by
that
the
is
end of it,
fast.
well, by the end of it, when the moment I stopped, I started seeing the world spinning. Everything was spinning around me. I had cramps on my arms, my abs, and my legs. For some reason, I also had cramps on my legs. I don't know why. Uh, but yeah, and then while I was cramping at that time, I have uh, there's this guy from Australia. I think he calls himself the marathon man. He wears like a superhero, like a M, like a Superman M there.
Okay.
And somebody take a picture, and I'm on the star. And so yeah, like you said, a lot of people looked at me, and at that point in time, I was thinking it's a bit ridiculous because I joined the 10 km, and there was like 20,000 other people joining 10 km, but I'm the only one that appeared on the newspaper. And so it sounded a bit ridiculous to me at the time, but I realized that that was an opportunity for me to do something that will inspire people, and that's why I started joining wheelchair marathons. Anyways, I number one wanted to challenge myself. I've always been interested in doing marathons meaning 42 kms. Because I always felt that there's always something that we can learn from marathon running that can be applied to life. And with that, I also wanted to use that opportunity to inspire the people to do to challenge themselves, and that's why I started that journey.
Wow, wow. I mean that. I mean, I mean that because of just one single run. I mean, one single thoughts that really can change a lot of things in life,
Yeah.
especially. So, because of that one marathon, what kinds of doors have it opens for you? I mean, that I truly believe there's a lot of opportunities and doors being opened to you.
Well, I wouldn't say like immediately there are opportunities. More so, you know, it's not so much external opportunities coming in, but more so internal opportunities in my mind, in a sense. Because after I joined my first run, then in my mind, it's possible. And so, and I wanted to challenge myself a bit more. I looked at my timing, 1 hour 4 minutes. It's not too bad for an hour, an hour 4 minutes for 10 km. But I felt that was because I didn't train, so I could do better. So I went for my second 10 km, and that was Nike run. And I told myself, okay, let's train a bit better so that by the end of it, the world is not spinning again, and I won't be cramping the whole way. But and so I set a target of wanting to do a 10-minute improvement. So by right, it should be around 56 minutes to do. So I was training for it, and by the end of it, I completed it in 45 minutes. So 10 km, 45
Oh
minutes.
my god!
So it's not so much like because I joined my first 10 km run, I got into the newspaper, and then suddenly a lot of other opportunities came by. It was more so an opportunity of the mind. Your mind sees that it's possible, and therefore you chase after opportunities. And so I started joining 10 km runs, and then I joined my first wheelchair run because the Nike run was also still 10 km men's category, open category. Then I joined my first wheelchair race, in a sense, non-professional wheelchair race. There's a difference between professional and non-professional race.
So what's the difference between this professional and non-professional wheelchair race? Probably you can
So
explain to us a bit.
So the non-professional wheelchair race, which is the most common in Malaysia, is the ones that you use a day chair on. So the day chair is the kind of wheelchairs that you see everyone use all the time, right? So if you see my normal profile picture, or like me being on the wheelchair every day, that's the day chair. Yeah, they call it a day chair because it's like an everyday chair. And then for the professional races, you have a specialized racing chair, which is longer and three-wheeled, so two at the back, one in front, almost like it looks almost like a bicycle, but it's actually powered fully by your arms. And so I joined my first non-professional race, which is the day chair one, also in 2012. And they were asking me to join because they heard about me. I think they saw me, a friend recommended, and they were trying to do Malaysia's book of records for biggest, largest wheelchair participants. So they were almost at about 200 wheelchair participants. A
Wow.
bunch of them are usual wheelchair users, but a group of them were wheelchair athletes. And so I joined in thinking, hey, I am pretty fit. I was training for a 10 km anyways. And so this was about maybe I think 3 km. So it wasn't very far, 3 to 5 km, I think. I can't remember. It was many years ago. But
8
I
years
joined
ago.
in, yeah, I joined in with some hopes of winning because it was 2,000 ringgit cash prize for first place,
Ooh.
right? So I thought, okay, I push to the LRT every day, go anywhere I wanted to. So I should be quite fit. So I went there. It was in Terengganu. Yeah, Terengganu. And then it was the first time that I was in the community because I never really had any OKU friends when I was younger. I went to a regular mainstream school, Sekolah Kebangsaan, and then I went to secondary school, normal school again. And so I don't know anyone, even in college, who is on a wheelchair. And it was my first time seeing so many wheelchairs. There was about 200 wheelchairs. And yeah, and I told you, like I said, I wanted to go in thinking I could have some chance of winning to 2,000,
Yeah.
right? On the first night, that hope was crushed because somebody came over, my friend who asked me to join, and then he said, "Hey, Daniel, come over. Let me introduce you to this group of people." And then I saw a bunch of athletes, so everyone's like very strong and
Oh my
buff.
God.
Yeah, and if we look at my picture back in 2012, I was very small, compared to now. And so, and they said, "Hey, meet Sunny. He's Malaysia's #1 wheelchair marathoner." And then I was like, "Oh, okay." Everyone
Oh my
around him
God.
just nods and everything, and I was like, "Oh man, I don't think I could win." But I went back to my hotel room that night. I was thinking, "Hey, I was going there to win." Um, but now I don't think I can win anymore. Let's not hope. I think I gave up too early in my mind that
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But so I went back to why I did wheelchair racing in the first place and wanting to do marathons. And I thought to myself, I really wanted to, number one, challenge myself. Number two, to inspire other people. And I thought to myself, how can I be an inspiration here? Because it's quite easy for me to be an inspiration when I'm the only one in a wheelchair in the room, right?
Yeah.
So and it's just a reality. Even when I don't want to, I'll just do normal things like going to the LRT and people come up to me, wow, you're so brave, you're so capable. Um, some people don't like that. I personally don't really care about it. But I thought to myself, how can I then be an inspiration when there are almost 200 other people on a wheelchair and a lot of them are in worse off conditions? So I told myself I wanted to be an inspiration and I want to share a message in a sense. And back in the day, I wear something motivational at the back of my jersey. So at that point in time, I was wearing something that is inspired by my friend Alex Aoyong, the guy who did the ultra marathon, right?
Yeah.
So he always wears something uh, at his back, and I really liked it because of my personal faith as a Christian, and not because of uh, imposing on any other people, but because of my personal faith. He wears something called "Powered by Jesus," right? And
Okay.
then Philippians 4:13, the Bible verse, it says, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me."
Yeah.
And so I always really liked that. And I told him, "Hey, Alex, can I get a jersey with that exact same quote as well?" So I started wearing it in my runs. And I always, in a sense, wanted to share my personal source of inspiration and strength, which I believe comes from God. And so I would always wear that in a race or in a marathon. So I told myself, since I can't win, right? I was thinking in my mind, oh, I can't win. So how can I
Might as
inspire
well
people?
inspire other people, right?
Yeah. So I told myself, okay, this is how I want to inspire. And I told myself, I want to show great sportsmanship. I want to be kind to people, make friends, and I want to show that message to as many people as possible. Right. So it's at the back of my shirt. And let me ask you this, and
Yeah,
if you
sure.
have a message at the back of your jersey, right, and you want as many people as possible to see it in a race,
Mm-hmm.
where should you start in the lineup, right? Should you start in the front of the line, the back of the line, or the middle of the line? What do you think?
Oh wow! If I want to, okay. So the first thing first. The first thing first. If you are talking about this, like which start lines should I be at with this word at the back? I think it would be at the back.
Why?
Okay. So the first thing first. So when everyone, okay, I know it's 3 km. I know it's 3 km. So when you
Mm-hmm.
start from the back, right, you can slowly catching up. You can
Mm-hmm.
slowly catch up. Okay. Then every wheelchair person that you overtake, they will definitely saw the message. So it's
Mm-hmm.
powered by Jesus. Anything
Mm-hmm.
you can do anything through Him. So actually giving hope that hey, I may be the last. So, but because I saw your words, I can keep going forward. I'm not alone. I still can going
Mm-hmm.
forward, no matter how slow I am. As long as I reach to the point, that's proof that it is possible for me to go.
Okay.
That's my thought.
And is there any reason why you wouldn't start, say, in the front, for example?
I think that when you start the front, I'm not sure this is my opinion. So when you start the
Mm-hmm.
front, right, I think that that's the point where you really get competitive.
Okay.
You, yeah, I think that
Mm-hmm.
when you start the front, you definitely will speed off. So when you speed off, right, people at the back won't be able to saw your message.
Okay. Very
Yeah.
interesting because I think you're one of very few people who guessed right. I started at the back.
Oh,
Uh,
oh
of
my
course,
God.
my reasoning is slightly different. Why I
Hmm.
didn't start in the front. But of course, there's no wrong answer. I think it's very
Yeah.
interesting for me to hear your perspective as well. Because I never really thought about the perspective of okay, if I'm in the back, then people will see that even though I'm in a sense losing, I would still strive. And then if I'm in the front, then I'm competitive. And then I didn't
Hmm.
really think about it that way. I thought about it in a very practical way. But it's very interesting to be able to hear that. But from my practical point of view, I thought to myself, if I'm in front and there's like 200 wheelchairs, in that slot, uh, only like what 10, 20 people can around
Yeah.
me can see it because people at the far back can't see it.
Yeah.
Um, and I actually have a picture that I took I think I posted on my Instagram 8 years ago of what it looked like at the back of the crowd. And I took a picture and I can't even see the front. And I thought to myself, the best way for me to be able to share that message to as many people as I can is to start last and to pass as many people as I can. So the more people
Hmm.
I pass, the more people can see that message. And that was the motivation for me to be able to inspire that way. And uh, like I said, it was a 3 km race. It was very short. So if you start last, there's always an advantage to start in front, right? Because 3 km is such a short race. If you go first, you're not blocked by anyone. You can go all out. So,
Yeah.
but at that point in time, I wasn't thinking about winning anymore. Nothing wrong with about thinking about winning because now when I join races, I go in to win. But at the same time, I believe we can still inspire. But at that point of time, because I, in a sense, lost hope so early, right? I told myself, let's inspire as many people as I can, and let's see how that goes. So my strategy is very simple. My strategy for the next day was look for a person to chase the person, pass the person, look for another one. So a very simple strategy: look for one person to chase, and chase the person that will pass them, and repeat. And so for context of how many people there are, for me to get to from where I was at the back of the line to the
Hmm.
starting line, right? To start, it took me 1 minute. So I timed myself. So meaning the first person who left from the starting line has had a 60 seconds lead on
Different.
me. Yeah, because it took me 1 minute to even reach the front of the line. And so, but I was just chasing and chasing, like a dog chasing a bicycle or motorcycle,
Yeah.
just not thinking. So I was okay. One person passed, another person passed, okay, pass, okay, another person look for another one. Then after a while, I was thinking, okay, pass, pass, pass. Okay, two more in front of me. I wasn't even thinking clearly that time, and then I didn't realize that two more people in front of me means that at that point of time was third place, and
Oh.
we were at the U-turn. So it's like imagine 3 km, so it's about 1.5 km, and then U-turn back to the the same spot. And so, but near the U-turn, okay, two more people in front of me. I chased, okay, one more person. Then the second person shouted to the first person in the front, saying somebody's passing him. Then at the U-turn, I overtook somebody, and then suddenly there was nobody else to chase. Then I started panicking because, like, what do I do now? Do I go faster? Do I go slower? If I go fast, will I get cramps suddenly? Kind of thing. Then at the end of it, I won the race with, in first place. In first place with, a lead of 45 seconds. So the second place came in like 45 seconds later.
And you and I think the best thing about this is you get to inspire people, okay, and you get the reward and you get the prize.
Yeah, so 2,000 ringgit was pretty good, but at the same time, it was, in that sense, the point of time, the start for me, the start of thinking that, I was just joining marathons non-competitively, but I won my first race in a wheelchair race. And so I started thinking about the possibilities of Paralympics at that point in time. And so
I mean that after that wheelchair race, after you winning, then you have the thoughts like Paralympics.
Yeah, I think that was when I really started thinking about competing, because even after college, when I was joining wheelchair runs and trying to go into marathons, it was just more for challenging myself and inspiring people. But it was that point of time when I started thinking maybe I should consider competing. So I was looking around, asking different people, hey, do you know anyone who does wheelchair racing in Malaysia? I even knew I knew some officers from the sports council and whatnot, and I was asking them, hey, do you know anyone doing racing? And the answer is all the same. Everyone tells me no one is really doing racing in Malaysia. You should just choose another sport. And so because of that, I was trying. I just couldn't find anyone. No mentors, no coach, nobody wanting to do it. And so one day my friend called me and said, hey, you want to try sitting volleyball? And so I was like,
sitting what?
I wasn't
I'm sorry?
sitting volleyball.
Oh, okay.
So we play volleyball, but seating volleyball is more played not on a wheelchair but on the floor. So you move on the floor and then you play. So the same hands that you move with are the same hands that you play with. So the idea of it sounded a bit crazy for me because brittle bones and flying balls is something that I'm not very sure of. But she said give it a try, and I went for like a workshop and taster session, and suddenly I realized, hey, actually, I don't think it's that hard. The volleyballs impact, volleyballs are softer, so it's not like football or basketball, and you're on one side, and your opponent is on the other side, so you don't clash like basketball. So I thought, okay, maybe I should give it a try, and that was maybe the end of 2012. So everything started in 2012.
I mean, like 2012, like, a lot of people are going to say that 2012 is going to be the end of the year. Okay, it's going to be like it's going to where the Armageddon is going to come. But as I can see and as I listen to you, right, 2012 is definitely a good year for you, man.
Well, yeah, it's a good start, and so that was when I started joining, and then soon after I started playing for Selangor, and then I started playing in 2013 I represented Malaysia in the Asian Youth Para Games for sitting volleyball.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and so I wanted to do racing, but then I went into sitting volleyball. But soon after that, after the games in 2013, I spent some time off doing. I was still going to ask around and see if there's any opportunities to do racing, but I still receive the same answer. Nobody's really doing it. If you want to do it, you can, but there's no coaches in Malaysia doing racing. There's no funding, no program, so you have to do it purely on your own. And so at that point in time, I've already done a lot. By that point in time, I've already done all my wheelchair marathons. So I've actually done the distances I wanted. I've joined the Asian Para Games, Youth Para Games in sitting volleyball. At that point in time, I've also done the 100 km already. So I
Cool.
wasn't really thinking. I'll tell you about the 100 km later. But so essentially, I was thinking, okay, there's not much to achieve in terms of sports for me, in terms of satisfaction. But what I really wanted to do was to continue to inspire people, but be more involved in making leaders. So at that point in time, I started working in a new place. I started working in a place called Leaderonomics, which is where I was able to nurture young leaders. So I was working in an area where I can nurture school students, and we did a lot of leadership camps and started focusing on my career and focusing on nurturing leaders. So I took a break from sports for a few years up until um, 2016, at the end of 2016 going to 2017. So about 3 years ago, that was when I started thinking about doing sports again, and specifically wheelchair racing, and chasing after it no matter what. So yeah, and that's when I resigned from my job that point in time.
Wow, man. That is a
Yeah,
bold move, man.
well, having some plans of how to survive, but not having the full plan. I don't think it's something that I recommend to everyone. It's not, to go from having a stable job to freelancing, and it's not a choice that everyone wants to make. And so,
Yeah.
but it was a choice I wanted to make, and so I resigned from my job about 3 years ago to pursue racing no matter what. And it has been tough because in the past 3 years, at some point of time, I would think that maybe I'm not achieving something as fast as I can. I'm not progressing as fast as I want to. But it's all a process, a journey. And if you keep persevering and having the right strategies and the plan and the right resources, uh, I believe you can achieve almost anything. And so right now, after 3 years, I'm still pursuing the Paralympics. It's been delayed from this year to next year, so I have a little bit more time. There's no guarantee that we'll be able to represent Malaysia in the racing sport, wheelchair racing sport, in next year's Tokyo Paralympics, because literally right now, as far as I know, I'm the only person pursuing this sport seriously in Malaysia. So no one else is doing racing because there's just no coach in Malaysia, no program, no team, no budget. So everything has to be done on your own.
I mean that. Then how will you manage like to go to the Tokyo Paralympics next year? I mean that since it mentions that there is no funding, there is no coaches, so all the things that you have to do by yourself. So do you feel that like you are alone in this thing? I mean that in pursuing this wheelchair racing.
Many times I do feel alone. I think, especially when my sport is a solo sport, right? I train alone. I do a lot of things alone. I freelance, so I don't have colleagues. Um, and when I'm pursuing this, then a lot of I don't get the kind of support that you want from, say, the government or the sports council. So funding, everything is done by myself, and I did crowdfunding and different things. So yeah, there are many times I felt alone doing the sport, but at the same time, I've received so many support from different people around me that that makes me more motivated, because number one, I'm doing it for myself for sure. At the same time, I want to also make the people around me proud. And so it's not easy, but you have to find different ways. And so some of the things that I did was, I couldn't. There's no coaches in Malaysia, so what can I do? I literally started asking people. So I know some people overseas, so I'll ask around, hey, do you know any racer and all those? I got a contact from a legendary racer, like his name is Ernst van Dijk from South Africa. He's the record holder for the most Boston Marathon wheelchair, winner. So
The
he's like,
recently one, right?
I think he hasn't won the past couple of years. He's much older now. He's 40 plus. But he won the Boston Marathon 10 times. So I tried contacting him from a contact from a friend. No luck there. He said he couldn't, doesn't have the capacity to train someone. And then I asked another person from Australia and see whether they know this one. They introduced me, but again, nothing happened. So one day I was looking through Instagram. I saw this guy from Ireland. I was following the same page as him, and then they featured him a bit. So I literally sent him a DM and said, "Hey, I'm from Malaysia. This is my situation. There's no coaches. Would you even consider doing some form of coaching with me online?" So he said yes.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
his name is Killian Dunn, and he is currently the record holder for the 100, 200, 400, 800 meters wheelchair racing T54 my category in Ireland. So he's the record holder for Ireland in that few categories. And so I was actually planning a trip. I was doing crowdfunding, raising funds to go to Ireland when the whole MCO thing happened. And so we had to cancel it. So unfortunately, we have to postpone it indefinitely. I don't think we can do our training this year. And I don't know how it goes for next year when the Paralympics is also happening, whether I have time to train there. So the fundings that I've raised so far, I didn't, at that point in time, I haven't raised the full amount. And then the whole thing started getting worse in terms of the pandemic. So MCO was going to happen. He also contacted me that in Ireland, everything will be cancelled for the rest of the year. And so right now, I'm using that funding to purchase an equipment from Canada and a few other things so that I can train at home. But because of the whole pandemic as well, everything is a bit slower. But hopefully, I can get an indoor roller, like a training roller,
Okay.
soon, so that I can, it's almost like a roller for bicycles. You've seen them training at home. It's the
Yeah,
same type for similar concept for the racing chair, but much more expensive. So you're looking at about 5 to 6 thousand ringgit,
wow.
including delivery to come over here. Yeah.
I mean that just listen to like how you pursuing like like even though you are alone and keep on DM people, finding people to coach you through online. I mean that definitely like if I believe that if there's a way, right? If there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. I always joke, if there's a wheel, there's a way. I have 4 wheels, so no, just kidding. Wheels and wheel. Yeah.
Hey, I mean it could be because I mean that you have four wheels, so you have much
Mm,
more much more way.
yeah.
That's
Well,
the thing.
I just like to make lame jokes sometimes.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
good job. It's a good job. It's a good
Yeah.
job. I mean, it's a good job. So I mean that after all this while, right? Because I scroll through your Facebook. I saw you given a talk in TEDx and a
Mhm.
lot of speeches and everything. So what was the I mean what was the point where when you become an advocate for push to inspire, like everything is possible.
Well, I don't know if I call myself an advocate, but in a sense, I believe that I want to use my life story to be able to inspire people. The whole idea of push to inspire came later on. But for me to go into inspirational speaking or motivational speaking or speaking in general started, I think, college. Because when I went to college, I was very shy, very reserved. And so never really thought I could speak in public. But I think as I grew, because I was nurtured in college, my first leadership role ever was in college. And it was
Mm-hmm.
through I was studying in TAR, Tunggal Raman. That time was TAR College, now it's TAR UC. But it was through the TAR College Christian Fellowship. Then I went there, was nurtured because I never really believed in myself until someone believed me enough to nurture me and say I have potential as a leader. And I realized over time, whenever I spoke, people listened. And because of that, I thought to myself, hey, maybe I should use my life as a way to encourage another person. And that was when I started speaking in Christian fellowships and in schools and in clubs, and then moving on to events and later on corporate companies. So it actually progressed, not so much that I was thinking of, hey, I want to be a speaker. More so, I want to use my life as a way to inspire someone, because I think everyone has a story to tell. And
Yes, true.
everyone has a different story to tell. And no matter what that story is, it'll be bound to encourage a person who can relate to that experience. And so, but Push to Inspire came later on, only when I was thinking of, I was trying to create a website, because I want to write and want to use that as a platform to be able to reach out to more people, and for people to reach out to me for engagements. And so I was thinking of a domain name, and I don't know if you probably have tried trying to get a domain name, right? So not
Yeah,
that easy, because all the ridiculous names that you think nobody would take it, would take,
it's ethic
is
taken.
taken. Yeah, people buy domain names and sell it. So I thought of all the different names that you think nobody would take, but all was taken. So all the kind of ridiculous names even is taken, until one day when I was really not trying so hard. I was thinking, hey, actually, you know what? I push my wheelchair to inspire. So okay, I push to inspire. Sounds good. And so I type it in. So suddenly .com, .net, .org, everything was available.
Okay,
So
okay.
pushtoinspire.com, .net, .org, everything. And so I said, hey, wow, perfect. So it started off with the idea that, hey, I literally push to inspire people. But later on, I wanted it to be more than myself. So Push to Inspire, very soon after, when I start thinking about it, comes from a belief that everyone can push beyond their perceived limitations and challenges to fulfill our God-given potential. And when we fulfill our potential in life, we inspire others to do the same, right?
Yeah,
Because I
yep.
think if you are doing what you're doing because you have seen the potential that is in you and in other people, right? And
Yes.
so, and it's just very human nature that when we see someone um, fulfill their potential, when we see someone do well, there's something in us generally that wants to improve ourselves as well, because we want to live up to our potential. Of
Yes,
course, there are
true.
some people who resort to being jealous and whatnot, but I think generally people want to be better. And so when they see someone fulfilling their potential, be it whatever that is, and that potential doesn't have to always look the same. I think I must stress that is that potential doesn't mean that everyone should be a millionaire or billionaire. It's not doesn't mean that everyone becomes an entrepreneur or everyone becomes an elite athlete, but more so, would what is that potential that you think you have in life, and as you discover it, you push your limits and you go higher and higher, and you fulfill that potential that makes you the best you and makes you happy. And so for someone, it could be being a good husband and father. That
Yes.
is your ultimate goal and that potential. And when you live up to that, you are happy and you're contented, and that's fine. For me, my potential, I believe, is for me to be able to use my life to impact people. And it's that belief that when everyone lives up to that potential and then they inspire people around them to do the same, that's how I believe one person can change the world, right?
Yes,
Because
true.
I'm just one person. Even if I'm very good, like Nick Vujicic or Tony Robbins or anyone you can think of, if I were to go around speaking to millions of people, I only reach millions of people, right? But if I live up to my potential, I inspire, say, 10 others to do the same, 10 others live up to their potential, do the same, then I'll reach far more than anyone else. So
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
not so much wanting to get the number, but more so I believe this is how we as individuals can change the world.
Wow, wow. I mean that idea of like push to inspire is really, really awesome. Like wow.
Yeah,
Like it's I
and
think that is well, you mentioned it's not about like impact more, but more like it's more like
It's fulfilling your own potential, and
yes,
naturally, people will be inspired to do the same.
yes, true, true,
And
true.
not everyone's purpose in life or even goal is
Understand.
to inspire other people. For me, it is because I find satisfaction in nurturing people. I find satisfaction in inspiring people, encouraging people. But it doesn't have to be the same for anyone else. You've seen entrepreneurs. I personally like to watch Shark Tank a lot, right?
Oh, sure
So,
thing. Yeah, yeah.
right. So I think a lot of times people, even for some of the entrepreneurs, they just want to reach whatever goals that they want, which is provide for the family and whatnot. But it inspires other people to try something new. So, and then later on, if you decide that your goal in life would want to change
Change.
from hey, I want to provide for my family to inspiring younger people, then so be it, right? So yeah, I don't think that is something that uh, there should be pressure on people because everyone is at a different stage. But I do believe, like, because I study psychology, right? And um, over time, I think people want to find meaning that is beyond themselves. So after a while, when you have all your needs and everything is provided for you, you tend to want to find uh, something that is more than that, in a sense, a calling. And and so if you are able to find something that is bigger than yourself, generally, um, you'll be able to find a bigger why and motivation and purpose
Yeah.
to do what you do. So, but I think everyone is at a different stage, and it doesn't have to be the same for everyone.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, man. It definitely a good sharing of like the theory and the story behind push to inspire. I mean that wow, mind blown, really mind blown. And and and
Thank you.
and I think that this is the questions that I think the next question I want to ask you is that if you have any chance, I mean if you have any chance to change everything, okay, to go back time and change everything,
Mhm.
will you do that?
No.
Why?
So I think it's funny because I've had this question before a number of times, and I realized so far my answer has always been the same: no, because I think everything that I've gone through made me who I am today. And so if I were to change something, then I might not be who I am today. And in general, since I was young, I never want to live in regret. So of course, are there things that I regret? Yeah, but I don't want to live in regret. So you can only choose to be better from that experience. Because of that, I so far I've and somebody have asked me before, if you're given a remote control where you can just reset everything or rewind everything, would you do that? I've always answered no, because I think I don't want to live in regret. I don't think people should live in regret. You should reflect on some of the mistakes you've done, but that should be only a rear view mirror, right? So when you're driving, you
Yep.
don't look at the rear view mirror all the time, right? You look back only just to make sure that everything is clear, everything is safe, so you can move forward safely. And so I live my life based on that principle of not wanting to dwell in past regrets. I look back only to help me move forward.
Oh wow, man! I really love the part where you're talking about the rear mirror, right? Oh
Yeah,
man, that is like wow, wow. I mean, you don't have to look. You don't always look at the rear mirror, but instead you
yeah,
focus at the front mirror to make sure everything's clear. Then you can go. Oh man, this is like a new quote. Oh my god, I really love that. I really love that. I really
yeah.
love that.
I just have a lot of time to think when I was young. I don't get to go out and play, so I think a lot. I think I wrote a blog post about this about rear view mirrors like many years back in maybe 2014 or 13. Back in the day when I still have a blog, it's no longer there.
Wow. Oh man, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you
Yeah,
for
no
sharing
man,
that quote with me, man. I
my
mean
pleasure,
that
man. Yeah.
it will inspire a lot of people. Definitely.
Thanks.
Okay, now last question. Last question before we end this conversation. I mean, okay, last questions. What are the advice? What are the advice that you want to give to the people out there and the audience about life, or like to pursue your goal?
What advice? I think, and this is very personal to me, I guess. And so I think it may or may not relate to other people. I personally think that we all need to find a purpose in life. And when I say purpose in life, it doesn't mean that you have to find something grand, nor does it mean that it has to look like different, look the same as everybody else. But you have to find something to strive for. A good friend and mentor of mine once told me, you need to have a strong why. The stronger your why is, the likelier you'll succeed. And one of my favorite quotes ever is by a guy named Friedrich Nietzsche, who says, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow." So he who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. When you have a good reason to do something, you can bear almost any anything that comes in your way. If you have a good reason to succeed, then no matter what challenges may come, you will find a way to do it. That's why, if you have a why to live for, you can bear almost anyhow. And so for me, I think it's important for everyone to be able to find that why. Whatever that why is, it doesn't have to be philosophical. It doesn't have to be, okay, I want to change the world. It can be, I want to be happy. But what does that mean? What does it look like? What is happy to you? I want to strive for my loved one. Whatever that goal is, you need to find a strong reason. And like my friend said, the stronger your why is, the likelier you'll succeed. So find that reason. And it can start small. It can start as like a hobby. It can start as something that you like to do. You do it because you like to do it, and then you find a deeper meaning to doing it. Sure, but you need to find a why.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard from the man himself. Find your why. The stronger your why, the more chances you'll be able to succeed, and the more and of course that the more challenges that you come, you will know how to overcome it. I mean that. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much for spending your time with me and to share
Thanks for
your
having
life.
me, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really hope after this MCO lifted, right, I can personally fly to Kuala Lumpur and find you, like maybe like doing
Anytime,
some, doing some video, a short documentary about you and to promote you.
Yeah.
Yeah, something
Sure.
like this. It will inspire more people. Man, I love this.
Thanks, man.
I really love this.
Thanks, man. I hope to see you one day. So when you fly over to KL and whatnot, let me know,
Yeah,
and then we can
definitely.
meet up for tea.
We can definitely go, Mama.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
After everything is safe.
Yeah. Okay, so
Don't go
ladies and
Mama now.
gentlemen, yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this conversations. So please do subscribe Discovering Myth and follow Discovering Myth so that you can get more updates on the next guest and to get more stories from different people. And you can follow Daniel at Facebook, Daniel Lee, okay, or Instagram, Push to Inspire. Okay, I see you guys next time. Bye, Daniel.
See you, man. Take care.